Okay,
We've got the recording started. We're ready to roll. Hey, Paul, good to see you. Or not see you in the chat. To see you in the chat. The beauty of webinar is everybody else isn't on screen. So they could be messy hair, they could be naked. We don't know. But they are there. They are there and they can watch. So welcome to another exciting episode of Meet the Author, not at the Pyramid Club, but on Zoom. And I hope everybody's having a nice day. Welcome, Barbara. Welcome, Kat. Good to see you, Dave Bookbinder. Awesome. Good to see all you guys. So for those of you that are first timers to Meet the Author, this is our 10th year. That is mind-boggling, but here we are 10 years later. We are number 4 on Philadelphia Business Journal's list of best networking associations in Philadelphia. Very proud of that. We're going to get some new numbers coming out soon. We'll see if I move up. I don't know, but we hope to. We've got some great things coming up. I'm going to put some stuff in the chat if you are interested in what's coming up. We've got, go to the Meet the Author page. Let me put this in our chat window. Hey, Katie, good to see you. Hey, George. Nice to see everybody active in there. I don't have my chat room ambassador today, so be patient with me. Be patient. Posting all of our links. You guys can just do a quick cut and paste or do a save chat. There we go.
You know what I'm going to say, T.
I don't know. What are you going to say?
I'm going to say, because I've been saying it for years, T, do you work for the Pyramid Club?
I do not work for the Pyramid Club, but thanks for bringing that up because it continues to be a question in people's minds. So this whole thing started many years ago, 10 years ago at the Pyramid Club, where I am a member, and decided, wouldn't it be nice, since I have so many friends that have written books, wouldn't it be nice to have little roundtable discussions with my author friends? And it has exploded into this crazy thing that happens monthly, sometimes twice a month. We do it on Zoom, we do it in person at the Pyramid Club. But yeah, I don't work for the Pyramid Club. What I do for a living, for those that care, is I help to create places where people want to work. So I do a lot of management and leadership development, interpersonal skills training, and work on corporate culture. Harriet, thank you for prompting me. And it is Harriet's role to always prompt me for that. Otherwise, people think I work for the Pyramid Club. All right. So now we are ready to begin. I just posted all the links, my links, Harriet's links. We are ready to roll. So this is a special Meet the Author for so many reasons, but mainly because Harriet is one of my best friends. We have known each other for years. We hang together. We have both pushed each other along the book writing journey and business journey. Harriet is a registered nurse. She's a training professional. We met actually through Association for Talent Development at a conference many years ago. She's worked in pharma. She worked for J&J, where I also did some work with Harriet and her good friend Lauren. And most of all, she is a thought leader in mindfulness and has been for years. And her goal is to spread the word to the masses about this important practice. Her book is Perfect Attendance, and I am delighted that it's been published and it's out. And please welcome Harriet Stein.
Thank you, Teresa, for that beautiful, beautiful welcome. Thank you. I mean, just to see all the different names in the chat, it's like, for anybody old enough who remembers Romper Room, it is very hard for me not to go through and say hello to every single one of you, but I cannot thank you enough just for being here today and supporting me today and every day. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, it is, of course, you're going to have a big crowd because you are well loved, my friend. You are well loved. So we still have people coming in, which is good. Welcome, welcome. So let's talk about perfect attendance. I mean, writing a book is no easy task, and you and I have both learned this. What inspired you to write it?
For this very reason. because normally, I mean, I've been teaching mindfulness in the corporate world for over 20 years now. And so many times people would say, okay, we're going to give you an hour. And I would be like, that's wonderful. But I would walk in there and I walk in with like 8 hours of content. And there's so much to share. And there are 9 attitudes that we how to cultivate a practice of mindfulness. There's these 9 basic attitudes. John Kabat-Zinn initially had 7, then he switched it to 9 when he added gratitude and generosity. And he was my first mindfulness teacher. So I always think of those 9 attitudes. You are great, T. T just posted them. I was going to see if I can remember them, and you just took all the pressure off me. So thank you. And I would drive home after like the hour program, and I would think, oh, we never got to non-striving. There was always a few attitudes. And that's why I wrote the book. So at least this way, people will have exposure to all of the attitudes and realize, it's not just a couple.
Now, and what I love about this is, first of all, we should have all learned this much earlier in our lifetime. Like, to me, this is a life skill that we all need. And I would argue, I don't know, middle school, grade school, like just like, but it's a practice. It's a practice. So that's a question I have for you. Why do we call it a practice?
Mm-hmm. Because it actually is a practice. And just to flip back 2 seconds, they are now teaching it in elementary school, and there are probably people, I mean, they can chat somewhere where they can write it even in the chat if their children have learned it really young, because more and more schools are learning it really young. So yeah, I agree with you, Kat. Kindergarten, younger. I've taught it to people as young as I think 7. My sister taught it to my niece when she was 4. So this is definitely something that is taught young. It's a practice because it is like riding a bike. The first time you ride a bike, you know what happens, right? You fall. And then the second time you get on that bike and, you're really hopeful, and then you fall. And then eventually you get on that bike and you find your balance and you have no problem riding. And even after a decade of not riding that bike, you can get on that bike. And normally you might be a little wobbly in the beginning, but you can ride without any problem. And it is the same thing with mindfulness, because it's a practice of paying attention moment by moment with non-judgment, right? So what happens is when we check in with ourselves to see, where we are, what we're thinking about in our thoughts, our body sensations, our mood, we realize how frequently we have sort of maybe wobbled off of being in the present, maybe fallen off a little into the past, maybe a little bit toward the future. And as soon as we realize it, it's that instant that we notice that we have fallen, we are right back in the present. Our balance, we have found it and drawn the straight and narrow.
Yeah. And I love how, as you're talking about this is a practice and you fall off your bike, I actually, and you probably remember when I signed up for the course through University of Pennsylvania, they had a multi-week course in mindfulness. And so we go, and we all had to bring like little mats to, if we wanted to lay down, or we could do it as sitting. And so the second week we're there, she's given us 10 minutes or so to just be quiet. And after we're done, she wanted to debrief. And I said, you know what? I have to be honest, I suck at this. I am terrible. This is, and meanwhile, she's like, what is this? Do you want to win the mindfulness? She said, are you a competitive person? I said, well, I am competitive. She's like, you want to win the mindfulness, don't you? I'm like, I do want it. That is not the point. And I was falling off the bike, but Harriet, to your point, the more you do it, the better you get. And then you have to remind yourself, don't be hard on yourself.
That's
not easy.
That's what I was going to say. Now, if I was your teacher, then I would have said, oh, you won. You won. because the whole practice is knowing what's
Yes.
going on in your head. And you were aware that your mind was going to a number of different places. 100%. Check the box. Done.
Yeah.
You won.
I was a winner.
You were a winner.
But it is tough stuff, but the more you do it, the better you get. And that is, and it's not a race. It's not you don't get a star, but your life is better. So let's talk about that. How does our life get better with mindfulness? Because it does. It does.
Yeah. In preparing for today, I was trying to think of all the answers to that question. And just so people know, as close as Teresa and I are, I always say we're sisters from another mister. We did not prepare. I don't know what she's going to ask me. And last night I was thinking that all things circle back to the same thing as to why I do this. And it's what you said, because at my core, I'm a nurse. If we are not healthy, then we're not going to be productive in our personal lives or in our professional lives. And if we're beating ourselves up in any way, oh, I forgot to do this morning, or why did I send that text, or I should have sent that email, or after she's finished talking, or you know what, maybe now I'll just send that email real quick. And, I have to remember later on to call this person. We are giving ourselves so many things to be thinking of and doing, and this internal stress. I always say that I teach because of one word, which is one word in 2 syllables, disease, dis-ease. And mindfulness promotes ease, because if you check in with yourself and you notice you're always thinking of the past, or always planning, or is it planning, or is it worrying? I mean, somebody just said to me today, oh, it's really good you got your car taken care of. It's supposed to be a bad winter. I'm like, really? Because right now I'm in a room with a skylight and it's bright and sunny and beautiful out. And yet people jump ahead. So that is, I think, the best way, that if you want to be focused, that is the best way to do it, is to really get the most value out of this moment. You have to be present for it.
It's true. It's true. Most of us, I think, spend a lot of time either in the past thinking about stuff that has happened, or in the future planning for what we hope happens or what we hope doesn't happen. But it is a very different existence to be in this moment. I'm looking at some of the comments. Thank you, Lise. I appreciate your thoughtfulness there. And Katie, I hear you. It reduces stress and anxiety. It absolutely does. In the present moment, I think I had read somewhere that if you're looking ahead, it's anxiety. If you're looking ahead and worrying about things, it creates anxiety. If you're looking in the past, it's depression.
I you know what, I try not to label things, especially something like that, because it's a diagnosis, and I try not to get into the diagnosing things. But to me, it's just additional stress that we don't have to be putting on ourselves.
Absolutely.
And then we have tension and we walk around and we don't realize that even when you're just right now checking in with your body and noticing, is there in any way, are you holding on? Are you gripping around your mouth or jaw? Sometimes we're tight in our mouth and jaw. Are you squinting your eyes? Do you check in with your body right now? Are your shoulders up around your ears, or can they be relaxed down into maybe a neutral position? Just getting that sense of what it feels like right now to be inhabiting your body, what that feels like. Because we spend so much of our time, in our head with, thinking.
Is there a short tip that you could give us, or something that you could walk us through that we could use now?
So, it's interesting. I actually trademarked my very first phrase a couple years ago, which was place a pause. And, I always give a lot of the attribution to my sister, who's a therapist, who was so wonderful and is the person who suggested first about me coming to see John Kabat-Zinn 23 years ago. And she's the one who said how she encourages patients during transition to check in with themselves. And I said, that is perfect, because it kind of integrates my encouraging people to place pauses throughout their day. And if they can remember to do it during transitions, before they get out of bed in the morning, noticing how it feels in your body, your mood, your thoughts. Are you jumping ahead thinking, oh my goodness, what I've got to deal with so much today, or oh, that yesterday. So noticing before you even get out of bed, where are you? Right? So checking that out. And then when you do get out of bed, your meals, before your meals, during your meals, after your meals, all of that. Absolutely. Every time you transition, getting in the car, getting out of the car, we all know what it's like to send a text and then immediately wish we did not send that text. I think, why? You knew it at the moment.
Yes.
Why did I send that text? So if we place a pause, not for an hour or for 5 minutes, but to pause for a moment, if you're driving your car and that phone goes off and you look at that phone, your car is still driving, right? So when I say we practice mindfulness as if our lives depend on it, our lives actually depend on it.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting that you're taking this path of it's answering a question that I haven't asked yet, frankly. But I want to ask you, what are some of the common misconceptions about mindfulness? Because I think when people think mindfulness, they picture somebody sitting kind of in like a cross-legged pose on a mat. Maybe they're burning incense. We hear a bell like that. I think am I wrong, people? Is that what people are picturing typically? But I don't think that's how you view mindfulness. You're not seeing it as us sitting cross-legged on a mat with incense, although you would not poo-poo that if we took that path. So what are some of the misconceptions people have, and help us get on the right path?
Right. Well, first of all, there's two things. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention, and there's the informal practice, which is us talking right now, and there's the formal mindfulness practice, of which the three most people think of is sitting meditation, walking meditation, and eating meditation. Now, like I said, I've been doing this for over 20 years in the corporate world. So when I started teaching mindfulness, it was at Johnson & Johnson within research and development, with people who were scientists and, highly professional, highly educated people. I think the technical term is woo-woo. There was no woo-woo with this group, none that would be tolerated. And that's where I worked. So, I really have to thank the Harvard Business Review. Forget the fact that there are thousands and thousands of studies now that talk about the clinical applications and the value of just spending a little bit of your time each day in silence. But the Harvard Business Review started posting and writing all these articles for the last several years. And thankfully, I think it has moved it out of the woo-woo realm, because I always say, if you're going to be very disappointed if you hire me and you expect candles and, incense.
A robe.
The very first, though, really one of the very first corporate events I ever had, hopefully they won't mind me sharing their name. It was for the Pew Charitable Trust in Philadelphia, a very, conservative, organization, been around for many, many years. And the feedback was very positive. But I said, anything you want to share? And they said, oh, some people were really surprised. And I said, surprised about what? And they said, oh, we were surprised about what you were wearing. And I said, what? I was wearing like a skirt and a blazer. What, a jacket. What did you expect? I mean, did they really think robes? Like I was going to come in robes and slippers? So no, no, this is highly professional and very serious. This is definitely not candles.
There you go. It's interesting because I, like your corporate friends, thought it was very woo woo. I thought, and really what it is, it's sitting in front of your computer and taking a moment to become present where you are.
Yeah.
That's it.
You
That's
know, I was going to say about 6 years ago, I started working with a company and I did an hour program and I did not know the CEO was in the room. And I ended up working with this company for several years now. It's a phenomenal company. Hopefully ColorCon doesn't mind me giving them a shout out because they're spectacular. And it was very interesting because I said to the CEO at the time who had hired me to come in, I said, when did you get the value of this? Because he ended up having me roll this out globally for his company via Train the Trainer beginning in March of 2020 when everything shut down. It became my busiest time of my life. And I said to him, his name is Marty. I said, when did you get this? And he said, Harriet, I got it at that very first 1 hour program. He goes, it gave me this practice, gave me the space to think. And that was coming from a CEO of $1 billion company. That's very important. I mean, it's important for CEOs. It's important for any type of leader, but it's important for anybody right now who's on this call because they're working hard and maybe they're up at night caregiving, right? Maybe dealing with an upset child or dealing with a parent they have to take care of. And then they still have to get up in the morning and they have to be present for their job and their family.
Yeah.
So we live very complicated lives. And like I like to say, I mean, not only this is a practice of compassion, but everybody is going through something. Everybody.
And most of us don't carve time out to muse, to reflect, to get quiet. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm a very calendared person. So if it's on my calendar, I follow through because it's calendared. If not, so I actually will block time on my calendar and it just says breathe, which is a crazy thing because clearly we're breathing or we die, but to really breathe, to take a deep breath and be in this moment can make such a huge difference. But we need reminders. The chat room is on fire. I don't know if you're
I
checking.
know it's really
Wonderful
hard.
conversation.
It's really hard.
But people
Yeah.
who are using this, they know it. Those of us that are using it haphazardly, it's a reminder that it is a practice and we may want to get back to it. Sometimes I think the best way to learn is to teach, and so helping other people get quiet. I remember, oh my gosh, I was in a car taking a friend of mine. We were going to the dog show in King of Prussia. And my friend had had quite a couple days. She was not present, Harriet. She was not. She was living in all the terrible things that had happened over the last 2 days. So she's telling me about it. We're driving out to King of Prussia. She's telling me, oh, and this happened, and that happened, and this happened, and that happened. And I said, wait. I said, Cindy, how do you feel? And she said, I'm angry. I said, no, wait. Right now in this car with me heading to the dog show, we're going to have a good meal afterwards. In this moment, right now, how do you feel? And she said, good. So that is me channeling Harriet because I'm like, in this moment, though the world is going to hell in a handbasket, in this moment, life is good. We're going to the dog show. We're going to have a nice meal. We're going to have conversation. And I think that is mindfulness. That is mindfulness. Look at Darby's joining us. Darby is our chat room ambassador. So she's going to help me manage the conversation in the chat room, because it's hard to manage it and
I
have the
can't, it's scrolling too fast, because I can't see it because it's too much, which is really, really wonderful.
It is wonderful.
Um,
And I hope
I,
people are playing with each other, because that's
I
what's
mean,
going to happen. But our chat room ambassador has arrived. So there will be some stuff going on there.
well, it's wonderful because Paul just said that you were actually channeling placing a pause, the importance
Yes.
of what happens when you place a pause and you realize that exactly what you said, you grounded her.
Yeah.
What does it feel like in this moment, in this one?
Right now.
And here's the thing. This is the only moment that actually exists.
Boom.
This, the other ones,
Boom.
they don't exist. And I saw Tom also as it was flying by here. This chat is very, for someone like me, I guess I might have ADD. I don't know. To see it, it's very hard as it's scrolling fast. When he said, if you don't schedule what you schedule, I think I'm getting this right, Tom, because it flew by fast. You accomplish what you schedule. And if you don't schedule time for yourself, you will not have time. You will not take care of yourself. And self-care is not a luxury. Self-care is critically important. That isn't my quote. I saw that somewhere online, and the person's name, I would give attribution to it, but they didn't have their name. But I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
Self-care is not a luxury. You know, I had a really big scare this summer and months of tests. And when you're laying there and having CAT scans and PET scans and thousands of dollars worth of lab work, and you're sitting there by yourself, you realize the value of the moment, because you realize you are, I mean, I was very fortunate that I came out of that with a healthy diagnosis. And I know it could have gone sideways very fast. And, you know, it's easy for mindfulness people to also not schedule self-care as well. And, you know, if you are not doing it for yourself, I'm going to invite every single person that's listening, make sure you reach out to other people and ask them, you know, hey, you know, how are you doing? You want to go for a walk? You know, do you want to go for a ride? Do you want to go grab a cup of coffee? You know, how's things going? Because, you know, you and I, Teresa, are
Mhm.
very, very good at taking care of others.
Yeah.
And I am very, very grateful when I think back to some of the most incredible vacations I have had in times in the last 6 to 9 months. It's because you said, Har, come, let's rest, come.
Yeah.
And you know, we did, there we were having a couples spa adventure. Uh
Oh my
you
goodness.
should share it.
We
You should talk about mindfulness.
we did a couples massage. We are not into each other that way. I'm open to the possibility, but it's not anyhow. We went to a wonderful resort,
And we're
and
both married, by the way.
yes, and they had this deal. It was a couples massage that included a nice meal, a massage. So it was a great price, and we can't pass a great deal. We just can't do it. So we did get a couples massage. But what I didn't realize is it's in the same room, because it's a couples massage. So Harry and I shared a room with two massage people. It was yeah, there you go.
But
That's
it
friendship.
wasn't just a couples massage. It was a whole couples spa day.
It was.
And if you asked us right now to share what took place that day, we can, and we said it during the whole
Everything.
experience.
We could go through minute by minute. We were fully present for that entire thing. I saw somebody commented about the meal meditation. We can remember that entire meal, every bit of that salad that was so delicious. Oh my goodness, it was everything. Iced tea.
But they even
Everything
had a
just
tray of food
it,
in the area where you changed. And we stood there. And because so many times people think of food as eating it, we stood there and stared at this tray of food
we
because
did.
it was so beautiful. And
It,
we said, we're like, look at that food. Chocolate cherries dipped, beautiful handcrafted candies. You would think we just
amazing.
got out of a prison.
It was great. But you know what? We were fully present for that whole thing, from the pedicure. We spent time in the hot tub. Oh my goodness, everything about that was. But you know, how many times do we do beautiful things and we do fun things, and we're so busy thinking about what comes next
Mhm.
that we're not really enjoying what's here, right? So many. There was somebody that you helped, a colleague of mine, who was getting married, and you had done a workshop before her wedding. She was part of the workshop, and she said, Harriet, I was there for the entire day. Every moment. She thought, she got married on the beach. She thought about her feet in the sand, and the feeling of that sand and the wind on the beach. And how many of us have gone through either our own wedding or another wedding, and it's just like a blip in time
Mhm.
because we're not really in that moment.
That's true. I remember her. I'll never forget it because she came up to me and said, "What can I do to remember it? Because everybody says that my wedding day is going to go so fast. I'm not going to remember it." And and I thought, wow. I said, use all of your senses,
Yeah.
all of them, and place the pause. Just keep pausing, right? And I don't know about you. I have a Fitbit watch because I figured I was worth at least $100. I mean, really, at least $100 I could spend on myself. And I have it set that if I don't walk 250 steps an hour, it vibrates. So when it vibrates, I stop, I place a pause, and where am I?
Smart.
Where am I in my body, my mood, everything? How does it feel? What am I thinking about? But I love that when she came back after her wedding, she says, I remembered everything, exactly what you're saying.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
thing is, our memories, they're so important because you're doing something as simple as drinking water, right?
Out of a
Okay.
pen-made sour cream glass. Those of you
Now,
from the 80s, there you
right.
go.
And it makes me want to cry because I knew what it was. So hold it. So I want to see if anybody else knows what that was, because Teresa just said that's where, as a child, that's what we used to get our sour cream in. It came
Yes,
in that glass,
it
and then
did.
we wash it out, and then we would use it as a drinking glass for the rest of our life.
And if you notice, the print is off center. The tulip is not really aligned with the stem.
It's a little.
It's a blem, is what it is. But it is a pen-made sour cream glass. Harriet, you noticed.
How old is it?
It's definitely from the early 80s. Early 80s.
80s. 80s. So it's from the 1900s.
It's from
Like
last century.
like
It
us,
is.
like us. I said that I am now from the 1900s. It is from the 1900s. I see that Pear and Marianne now. We just flipped
Aaron,
everybody.
Aaron
Aaron into
remembers it. Of
into,
course, Aaron,
into
my niece.
memories.
This is one of my mother's glasses.
Right, right,
It's a treasure.
right. And I always think that if God forbid the house was on fire, the things that I would grab in my home, exactly. I have the little bucket, the little tiny red bucket that my mom used to wash my hair in and give me a bath in the sink when I was a baby. And then when
Treasure.
when my niece broke her elbow, I used it to wash her hair. And then when my mom was terminally ill, I used it to wash her hair. I
Oh,
still have that little pink bucket. I'll save it forever because it's the memories. It's, what do they say? The things that are the most valuable in our lives are the things you really can't touch. It's the memories around that.
it's the memories.
You know,
It is.
we won't
It's
take the
so funny.
memory.
I only have one, but there were many. We had a whole closet filled with these. It's what we drank out of.
Of course.
But this is it. This is it. So crazy, crazy time. So let's get to your book, because we haven't really spent a whole lot. We're talking about the practice. One of the things, and it's just natural for you. You're a storyteller. It's just part of who you are. It's how you deliver training. It's how you deliver your keynotes. There are a number of stories in your book. Is there a story that you're willing to share or want to share with us from your book?
I was trying to think of a good one today, and I was one that I don't normally share, and it's just literally it's this big, which is watching the Olympics several years ago, and after one of the women won in her event, she was about to get the gold medal and go onto the platform. This reporter like stuck the microphone in her face and said, "So, what's next?" I thought, what's next? She worked probably, 25 years of her life, getting up, maybe at 4 o'clock in the morning, spending hours and hours every day practicing her whole life. And she reaches the pinnacle and gets a gold medal. And seconds after she gets it, the reporter says, "What's next?" Like, what's next?
Wow.
And I think that, of these attitudes that I have, these 9 attitudes I've gone through in the book, I rarely get an opportunity to talk about non-striving.
Mm.
And somebody said to me once, actually Bill said to me once, he said, "Harriet, you're going for your striver's license." Because,
Oh, that's great.
sometimes, you know what it's like? Have you ever had that feeling where you're trying so hard to
Yes.
get something,
Yes.
you
But
know?
I love that it's called a striver's license.
And he said, "Harriet, you're going for your driver's license." But I find that whether it's at work and you really want that promotion and you're trying really hard and trying, and you watch other people get promoted and you're not getting promoted, and it's being aware, right? Because all these attitudes, they're all integrated with one another. I talk a lot when I give programs about letting go. But you can't let go until you're aware you're holding on, right?
Yes.
So that if you notice that striving, now, is it important to work towards something? Yes, we all have to work toward our goals and what we want to accomplish in life. But striving is different. Striving feels differently in our body. Striving is when you're in high school and you want that person to call you, and you're like, "Please call, please call," and you're staring at the phone. Nobody used the phone, right? Nobody used the phone. I'm getting a call. And I know people nowadays. Now they still, are they going to text me? Are they going to call and ask me for the interview? And we all know what it's like to wait. Me way too recently for lab results. You can drive yourself nuts if you're dealing with that fear. And I think it was Gary Zukav, the Harvard trained physicist, who was the first person I heard say that humans basically have 2 emotions: love and
Oh,
fear.
boom.
Love and fear. So that if you're not coming from a place of love, which you say every single
All
time
the
I
time.
talk to you,
High five.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you see this play out in life. You see this when people make decisions out of fear, they get very different outcomes than
Mhm,
when they make a decision from a place of love.
mhm.
And that doesn't mean that we don't have fear. We
Mhm.
have fear, but the decision should not come from fear.
Yeah.
Things don't play out well when we decide from fear.
Mhm,
Yeah. But that ties us back to mindfulness and asking yourself, I'm in this situation, making a decision.
mhm.
Where is this decision coming from? Is it coming from love or fear? You have to bring yourself to this moment in order to make that assessment.
It's very interesting. During COVID, John Kabat-Zinn did a weekend retreat, virtual. There might have been 10,000 people on the call from around the world, and he did it with his son Will, and it was very interesting. because when they were talking about love and fear, because, both their faces were on the Zoom, just those two faces. And I heard Will say, if you touch under fear, you're going to find love. So it's really awe coming from love, right?
Wow.
And I saw his father's face, like, blown away that his son said that, because he said, I never heard that before. I never heard anybody explain it like that before. And I thought it's true, because when you're striving for something, right, a lot of times you're fearful that you're not going to accomplish as much as you want to get done, and that you're not doing the best you can be, and there's just this massive push. You can't see, but I'm making a fist. It's like it's a lot different than working towards something when you are in striving mode, right? And I thought it's interesting, because are you coming from love in that place when you're striving, or are you coming from fear? And then if you touch under the fear, right, it's really because you want to be successful, you want to be the best you can, and a lot of times it comes out as fear. These things, when it's you just have to look what's underneath it, what's underneath the fear. Maybe looking silly, maybe it could be a lot of maybe being embarrassed because something in the past maybe embarrassed you. It's different for everybody, but I thought it was pretty interesting. I just don't get a chance to talk about non-striving enough. And I see a lot of people trying to send themselves to an early grave, trying to accomplish too much and not taking care of themselves.
Wow. Guilty. Boom.
No,
I
don't
gotta
be guilty. Don't be guilty, because
no.
you do. You do.
Well, here's what happens though, and those of you that are in our age group can probably relate to this. You start to realize, well, I'm not going to live forever. And I hope that's not a surprise to anyone. Like, we're just not going to live forever. And you start to think, well, what are the things I'd like to accomplish before that happens? So then you're trying to some of us are trying to, and myself included, are trying to get an awful lot done because we don't know. But it needs to be done in a spirit of joy and enjoying the journey, and not in the spirit of the more check boxes, the better. Because the more check boxes is not necessarily the better if there was no joy in getting the check box.
All through, I know all through college, I don't know if I had it on the wall in high school, but I know all through college, I had the poem up, what it meant to succeed, and there's a line in there that if one person's, I'll see if I can say it without crying. If one person's life has breathed easier because of you, you have succeeded. And Teresa, I mean, my life is so much better because you've made me breathe easier, that you have succeeded in life, because just for the impact you have on me. I could go through so many names that I see that are on this call right now that have been there for me in my life. They allowed me to breathe easier, so they have all succeeded. That's what it means to succeed in life. Is somebody's life made easier because of you?
That's a beautiful thought. And thank you for saying that, Harriet. And the same goes for you. It's you are part of the inner circle. And you've been through this whole meet the author thing with me from the very beginning. From the very beginning, when I was already a very busy business person. I'm like, you know what? Let's throw something else in that takes a lot of time. And you've watched. So, but it is, you are teaching people such a powerful, life-changing lesson that has always been needed. But I think more than now, there is no better time than now. It is I don't know, maybe it's an age thing, or maybe the world is just getting faster and faster and more complex with all the information and all the tools. And I saw Lisa put in here about expectations, societal expectations. And
Mhm.
we really need a tool to ground ourselves and to ask ourselves just very simple questions. Does this give me joy? Is this coming from fear or love? Just simple tools to keep us human.
Well, I'm going to give you another one of my favorite ones, because 5 minutes before I had to get on a Zoom call, a friend of mine texted, and I think she might be. Oh, yep, she is. She's on that call. So I won't shout out your name for the world, but you know who you are, my dear. And she sent me a text and said, I have to go to this important business luncheon, and I'm so afraid my hands are shaking. And I didn't even have time to text back because I had to be online. And instead, I picked up the phone and I called her. And I did not say, oh, tell me what happened. Tell me the story, because there's always a story, right? And to this day, I do not know the story. What I said to her instead was, ground yourself. You are
Yes.
not in the present. Obviously, something from the past, right? Whatever it was, something from the past that she experienced, because it was a beautiful sunny day. It wasn't like icy and 22 degrees in a storm. It was a beautiful sunny day. And something from the past was throwing her into a future that did not yet exist.
Mm,
And I said to her, go wash your hands and use all of your senses. And then I jumped onto my Zoom call. And by the end of my call, she texted me and said she was at the luncheon, everything was fine. But I use that, right? When we wash our hands, okay? Every single time I touch water, I try to remember that there are 1 billion, and that's with a B, 1 billion people in the world that do not have access to clean, safe water. So it's one of the attitudes we cultivate with mindfulness, right? Gratitude.
yeah.
So it's just really noticing what the soap feels like in your hands, not judging your hands like, oh, my hands are getting old, or my hands are
Dirt
dry,
under my nails.
my nails are bad, or look how
Right.
beautiful my skin is. I have such beautiful young. No, no, there's no need to judge it good or bad. It's just noticing it. What does it the skin feel like? What is the sound of the water? That will immediately ground you into the present moment. And everything I'm sharing today, like you said, T, I'm really hoping everyone shares this, at least maybe a little something today, with maybe a stressed out colleague, a stressed out child, a family member. We're heading deep into the holiday season.
Yes.
We know what joy that can bring, right? Or not. It's a loaded time, a lot of memories.
Families and holidays. Joy. Sometimes.
So that's another one of the attitudes, right? It's
Yeah.
another attitude. Thank you, Anastasia, who I just saw. She just texted something to her husband.
No.
Beginner's mind is one of the 9 attitudes we cultivate with the mindfulness practice. So you might have seen these relatives thousands of times, but there has never been a 2023 holiday season before. It's never happened. It's never going to happen again. Go into it using all your senses, and with a fresh mind, like you have never seen these people before, because you have never seen them before on this day.
Right. Right. Beginner's mind is special. They're all special, but beginner's mind, and I think it is particularly challenging if we let it be. If we let it be. Yeah, because you want to go in, and I saw a couple people with comments about the stories in our head and the assumptions that we make. We can't help but carry that in our head, but
Mhm.
to clear the slate and say, this is a new time and a new day and a new meal and a new gift exchange, and let's see how this plays out. But I'm going to bring an energy to it that is loving
Yeah.
and
That's
open to possibilities.
exactly. You're open. You're open to what evolves, what happens. Let's see. Because we don't know what's going to happen 5 days from now. We don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now.
We don't. We don't.
So, I mean, if we did, we all would have won the lottery by now. We've got to win the lottery. So we don't know. We don't know what the future is going to bring, right? So to just kind of keep that open mind and just wait and see.
I had a call with you this morning. I was blessed to have a conversation this morning with a gentleman in Tel Aviv. And I don't often get to work with folks in Israel. I do work with people globally, but I don't often work with folks in Israel. And based on the situation now, I was amazed that he could have a conversation with me about work related things, despite all the crazy and the situation that is going on there. But I did open by acknowledging, hey, it's not lost on me that your country is going through a really tough situation. How are you? He let me know how he was feeling. And then we took a deep dive into using the DISC model and self-awareness, and he was
Mhm.
fully present for that. And I think that's what we have to do with what we have on our plate is be fully present for what it is you're doing now. Yes, there's a lot going on around us. Yes, there's a lot that we maybe need to plan for, but boy, if you can be, we had a delightful call for an hour
You know,
and good laughs.
it's because of what you said. And I think a lot of times, so many times I have heard in my life, especially when we share this as well, because we were young when we lost our mothers, that people will say nothing rather than say, "How are you doing?" Because they in their minds they think, "I don't know what to say." And I always tell people, if you don't know what to say, then say, "I don't know what to say, but I'm thinking of you right now."
Yeah.
Not "I know how you feel," because you have no idea how
Right.
anybody feels. But the fact that you spoke, first of all, he could have canceled the meeting from Israel today, but he chose to have the meeting.
He
So right
did.
there, you honored the fact that he wanted to show up and that you showed up and acknowledged the fact that, I know that there's a lot going on right now where you live, and I want you to know I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of you and all that entails. You acknowledged it,
Yes.
you know,
And
and
I think it set a tone, Harriet. I think it, it needed to be said, but we didn't need it to dwell.
I
We
think a
just,
lot of people they don't say it. People that have maybe they lost a loved one, maybe they have a very sick child or a spouse or whatever it is. I keep saying everybody is going through something. People on this call might be dealing with a big health issue. And some people know about it and maybe some people don't know about it. So it's really leading with that compassion to say, if you do know that, I just want you to know I'm thinking of you, right? Something so simple. If you need anything, what can I do? Is there something I can do to help you? I mean, these are all mindfulness practices. When you're present for somebody, what do you need me to do? Not here's what I can do, but what do you need me? What do you need to hear from me? What do you need me to physically show up and do for you right now?
yeah,
You know? So,
that is sincere from the heart, from a place of love and appropriate.
mhm.
Appropriate. I see Erin posted in here her mom passed away 5 years ago today. So Erin is my niece
Mm,
and her mom was lovely. Every one of us has some challenge that we're dealing with today, be it it's a significant day of the passing of a loved one, be it there's something going on in our life that is not an easy problem to solve and we're just taking it day by day. But this tool, and every one of these, I still call them pillars because I'm old school, but I think they're called attitudes now.
Call them anything you want.
But I'll tell you what, I as a trainer, I'm giving you all a homework assignment to look at these 9 and just to ask yourself, how do I weave this practice into my life and how will it add value? And pick one, focus on one. Even if you just pick gratitude, gratitude's a winner. Gratitude, just focusing on what you're grateful for is an amazing win. So, but Harriet, we're almost at the tail end here. You've got a lot of cool things going on in your world and things that are coming up. Tell us what's next for you. What's coming up next for you, and how can we help you? What is it we can do for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. A few months ago, I had a person reach out to me and asked me if I would speak at a senior center, and I said I would love to do that. So it's people, they said primarily in their 70s to 90s, and I said wonderful, it'd be great. And I hung up from that call, and then the next call was a very, very large global well-known company who said, can you do a 4-hour half-day mindful leadership program? And I said, sure. And I thought, that is the joy of this practice.
Yeah.
That is the joy for me, is to be able to teach others that whether it is a 90-year-old person that's going to show up next week and that I'm going to be able to maybe help them deal with something that they're dealing with, maybe struggling or a challenge, or to maybe find a little bit more joy in something that they're dealing with right now. But also leaders. The leaders came in from around the world at this workshop, and I don't use slides for my 1-hour programs, but I thought for a half day, it might be, good to bring some slides. And I hooked up my computer and the slides didn't work. And of course, right, I see your response, right? You're thinking 4 hours and I've spent all this time on the slides, didn't work. And non-striving, letting go, acceptance, right? There's no way I could change it. Was it going to, I couldn't cry. I couldn't scream, right? I just kept going. Did I bring it on a thumb drive? Yes, I did. I gave the thumb drive to the person who was leading it. She said she would do it off of her laptop. Did it work? Then her laptop started having problems. and you just keep going with it. And one of the people in the audience, one of the gentlemen said, how will she know to advance your slides? And I said, well, I could just say next slide. And he said, I think you should say pumpernickel. I don't know why he felt that pumpernickel would be a good thing, but for the rest of this leadership workshop, with all of these folks that came in from across the United States, I would be in the middle of teaching and I would say pumpernickel. And they would advance the slide, and sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. And it was at a retreat facility that was religious based, even though this was not a religious retreat in any way for this corporation. And when the slides didn't work, a phrase that is well known by Jesus would show up with Jesus's name. And sometimes when I was teaching and the slide wouldn't work, I would point to the slide and I would say, what would Jesus say? Because obviously that's what was on the slide. And I think, we have to use humor and respect and gratitude. And, you just, when you are in the moment, people are going to learn what they need to learn. And, everybody was very grateful that I was there. It worked very well. And life is not neat and clean. It is messy. Slides don't work. Batteries on the car die. Things don't go right. And, if you can laugh about it when it's happening instead of later, it's going to be funny later. Just maybe be a little bit easier on yourself.
That is a great way to wrap this up, Harriet. This has been a fun conversation. I knew it would. You guys really could just sit in on any of our calls and have this kind of entertainment, because this is really what we do. I put out there November 28th at the Pyramid Club. Harriet is part of our women's author panel. So we are going to be at the Pyramid Club. There will be 8 fabulous women. Harriet is one of them. She will be there. You can buy her book and get it signed. If you already have her book, just bring it. She'll sign it. It's going to be a great night with a great view. We're on the 52nd floor of the Mellon building, looking out at the city, having a glass of wine, having hors d'oeuvres, and meeting not only fabulous authors, because they are all fabulous, but just fabulous guests. The people that go to those programs are some of the best people you'll meet in your life. So, Harriet, thank you, my friend. Round
Thank
of
you.
applause.
Thank you so much. And thank
Everyone in
you.
the chat.
Thank you for everybody who showed up today. Thank you for taking care and taking the time for yourself and for supporting, Teresa, my dear friend, and myself. Thank you so much for being here.
Nice. I'm gonna stop recording. Boom.